Hi guys, welcome back to VenterAdventurers, and on this week of Folklore Fridays we're going to talk about witches. Let's start off with a definition of a witch. A witch is an individual, man or woman, who in Western folklore has made a pact with the devil to have certain powers. Witches can be good or evil, depending on where you are and what they are. Usually what they call a good witch is a white witch, or a good witch, so they're medicine women. Actually they run in our family, I believe so. I believe a great aunt of ours was technically what they class as a white witch, someone who works with herbs in the garden. When it comes to witches, we have a different wide range of folk tales with that, ranging from what you'd class as an evil witch, or something in Russian folklore like the Babyung, or the witch who lives in the chicken house, to shamans, witch doctors. Skinwalkers are technically a male witch or a female witch who has gone evil and is practicing the dark arts. But let's start off with the most simple one, which you guys must have heard of, which is the witch in the West, or Western witches from English folklore mainly, or even German folklore, they both come across. Witches have been started across many different folklores in Western Europe. Let's start with Germany. In Germany, the best tales are from Hansel and Gretel, or the story of the witch in the Canterbury house who tries to eat children. That's one example of what they think witches do, is eat children. But it goes a bit further. In England or in Scotland, witches are supposed to be evil who work with the devil, conspire against the king and to do the work of his evils. So for example, James I, the witch slayer king, or the first king to kill witches, says the reason why he was trapped in Denmark for a long period of time was because of a witch. So he ordered his men to find the witch, and they did, and they believed the witch was a peasant woman sent by the devil to stop him from getting to Scotland. With witches, he obviously wrote the book on Witch Hunter's Guide. That was the first book given to people to hunt witches, and that started something called the witch trials across the UK. Killed thousands of people, terrorised homes, people being accused of being witches for nothing at all, just being old. When that came round, a lot of people threw a lot of problems with it and created scaremongering about how witches could do hundreds of different things, from giving curses, powers, riding on brooms, eating children, kidnapping children, to the bit more mundane, or even more evil and sinister, of taking homes, killing people, conspiring against the crown to create a state for the devil. All these confessions came out of people in torture through the witch hunters, like Anthony Hopkins, and there's a few other people. We can talk more in detail. If I've got the name wrong, we can remake this video and go back through, and I apologise if I used the wrong name. I know it's the witch General Hopkins. I don't remember his first name. I think I've got it wrong, but we can talk through that another day. But how they found people was like with marks, warts. They used to say it's how they used to conceit with the devil, feed the devil's, like their devil's belonger. I think it's like a deceiver, that's the term. How they did this was how they fed their dark energy and how they cursed people. That mythology followed the pilgrims and people colonising across the world to America, where you have stuff like the Salem witch trials, the Blair-Witch. Blair-Witch is an interesting one because it might be a witch, but it also is a haunting. And well, we're going to do a video in more detail on that in future. The same with shamans and witch doctors from America, South Africa, and Asia, because that needs a whole video on its own, breaking down a lot more. But the best case that comes to mind from America, and we'll go in more detail on another day, is the Salem witch trials, where again they use possession. So the witch possessed their home to cause them to do evil deeds, possess the daughters. It's all from a scaremongering come across from Europe, and religious, of good versus evil, God versus the devil. The devil is, the witches work for the devil, and this was all used in a panic and fear of an unknown. Something like we're kind of going through at the moment. Not too sure about the future, and some bad stuff happens, so we blame people, scapegoats. that's what's happening at the moment. But I'm not going to go into that. This is a non-political channel and we won't talk about politics. But there is some connections. We're not having a witch trial, but there's a connection between this and the witch trials. But we'll not be talking about political opinions. But what we need to look into is my opinion of a witch. My opinion of a witch was, there's no such thing. I think it's just scared people looking for a scapegoat, and they realised there was a lot of the old women in the town were grumpy and old. And they, obviously, for a long time, women's life expectancy was a bit higher than men. And people wanted to get rid of them because they were mad, evil. They didn't like them. So when the witch trial started, it was a way to get rid of people. It was pitted neighbour versus neighbour, family versus family. In those times, if you hated someone and you wanted to get rid of them, you just accused them of being a witch. And the witch hunters did it for you. I don't think I can remember off the top of my head anyone who was found guilty, and not guilty by the witch hunters. It's because they used systems of torture which would always get results. But overall, my opinion on it is, it was a farce. But before we finish today, we're going to talk about something from pop culture, but it's written more into non-fiction and through myths and lore. And that's the story of the Blair-Witch. The Blair-Witch comes from America, and again the times of colonials, the colonies, when there was a lot people didn't know about the world, and how they used to explain a lot of stuff is by using religious terms. That's why in America there's a lot of places called Devil's Creek, Devil's Mountain, Devil's Crossing, Satan's Border, or like even animals. There's a creature that is especially in Pennsylvania, called the devil dog, or in the Appalachian Mountains, sorry, called the devil dog. That's because they didn't even think anything could be so ugly. It must be the spawn of Satan. That's because a lot of people who went to America at the time were avoiding religious persecution and freedom. This is where the Blair Witch comes from. The Blair Witch, well, most of you would know, is from the film Blair Witch, where they go into a forest and they find these dolls. People don't really know where these dolls come from. About this shape, shaped as dolls hung from trees. And the story goes, an elderly woman was scared out of the town, and she cursed the town. She lived off in the mountains, lived off in the woods, and she slowly died. But she cursed, and she forever haunts the forest, bringing curse, damnation to anyone who enters her forest without permission or wanting to go in there. Again, that's again the story of people persecuting someone. But with it, it's hard to tell if it's fiction or it did happen. The person, I'm not going to talk about who they are because I want you to go away and look at it yourself. The person they talk about in it is a real person. They did exist. But do you believe 100% they talk about? The only example they've got is of, in 1917, a young boy was possessed, believed by the spirit of the Blair Witch, which he went on a very gruesome spree, killing people. And he blamed the Blair Witch for his actions. And he had a message written from her talking about it. But I'll leave that up to you to decide if you believe that, or if you think that's just a whole lot of baloney of a raving man using that as an excuse for why he killed people. But that was it for folklore today. Anything you do think about our videos, I'd love to hear it. I want you to explain to me if you think I'm wrong, I'm right. But please can we keep the comments civil below. I don't want any politics on this channel. This is a non-political channel. We just talk about folklore and fairies and outdoor stuff. But again, please give me any of your opinions and your views. I'd also love to hear your stories. If you've got a family story about a witch, or you're connected in any way to the witch trials, I'd love to hear about that. Please email VenterAdventurers@gmail.com. Tell us any of your stories. We would love to hear it. We might even get them on a video. We say it every week, and we'd love to hear from you guys. But I've been Michael. Keep venting. Please like and subscribe. This has been Witches Explained. Please, if you liked the video, please like and subscribe because we're trying to reach 50 subscribers. Thank you. Keep venting. I've been Michael.